and the judge said that he'd also had some really bad feedback from Parklea and had requested that Andrew be moved to Silverwater. So I'm not sure whether that's happened, but I do know that his wife and his father, who's elderly, like 84 or something, in his 80s or 90s, they went and saw him just before Christmas. So, but yeah, he's currently facing life in jail, so that's what they're trying to put him away for supplying cannabis to children with intractable epilepsy and the sick and dying, at a time in history when medical cannabis is finally supposed to be legal after 80 years of prohibition. Dr Katelaris has continued to stand by his Hippocratic oath every day by supplying a medicine that is safe and effective treatment that offers better quality of life for all conditions he has provided it for, and no recorded deaths ever in history, which is exceptional considering cannabis has been used for food and medicine since the birth of creation. So Dr Katelaris' research can confirm that cannabis food concentrates and simple lifestyles can slow down the ageing and disease process. His evidence confirms the importance of activating the endocannabinoid system through the consumption of cannabis and hemp as medicine, but firstly as food. And researchers now say that the endocannabinoid system has been hailed as the most important psychologic system involved in establishing and maintaining human health. So proving the purpose of cannabis consumption is to achieve and maintain homeostasis. So he's just a hero in my eyes. He so inspires me. This man deserves a Medal of Honour. He deserves to be recognised and respected for the research he has done in cannabis and his activism for the last 2 decades, raising awareness about cannabis as medicine and hemp as food. Dr Katelaris has been applying for the laws to change to legalise hemp seed as food for around 20 years, and all Australians are legally allowed to eat hemp seeds now because of his dedication. So he's single-handedly pushed and applied for licenses, I think three times. I think he applied for them to change the laws, and the last time was about 18 months ago, and then like a couple of months later the government turned around and said, oh yes, we're going to legalise it. So they didn't acknowledge him, and he said, oh, they didn't acknowledge me. He said, but I don't really care. The main thing is that it's legal. So he's just such a humble man. He's just beautiful. And he I first witnessed a 3-year-old boy go from 1,500 seizures one day to 5 the next with cannabis, and that was 3 years ago. And it was then that I put my hand up to stand up for cannabis and for these children. And Andrew, sometimes you might see him in the public eye as being aggressive and angry, and I feel that anger too. So does BJ from the church here. We've helped over 150 children with epilepsy, and our anger comes and our frustration comes from spending time with these families. We have a support group, and I sit in this chair late at night helping the families, the mothers that have their children seizing, and they've all got better quality of life, but they're still, it's really, really horrific what they have to go through. And I've been saying for years that every politician should spend, a few days, 3-5 days in the homes of a family with childhood epilepsy, and then they'll see why Andrew does what he does. A few years ago, there was one of the most important ones that Andrew helped. Her name's Daisha Magic Stevens, and I think it was about 18 months ago or 2 years ago, her father was dying, and Mike Baird sat on his deathbed and said, I promise I will make sure your daughter has medicine. And to this day, no one has given Daisha medicine. Andrew continues to supply her medicine. And so there's a YouTube segment on Daisha, and that's also on our playlist. So basically we know that it works, especially for children with epilepsy. And he should be leading the way in running the group, the organisation, or the group for working with the children with epilepsy and cannabis, because he's done a fantastic job. And I don't think it would be where it is today. It would be well known and starting to be accepted if it wasn't for his dedication and for him following his truth and his compassion and his desire to end childhood epilepsy. That's his goal, to end childhood epilepsy. It's not to legalise it, cannabis for these children. It is, but it's affordable access, but it's, his purpose, his goal is to end childhood epilepsy, and he's done a fantastic job, and we've got hundreds of children and adults even that can prove that this has worked and safely. And the only problems we've had is tweaking a little bit of tweaking the oils to make sure you get the dosage right, and sometimes if they have a little if they have a little bit too much, then it's easy, they just sleep it off or have a bit of orange juice and they're fine. But there's no toxic side effects, no toxic adverse effects to this medicine.
Sounds like a really powerful medicine.
It's amazing, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the background of Andrew? As I understand it, he used to be a medical doctor. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, he was a medical doctor. I think he's been registered for about 20 I thought it was about 20 years, but I found an article the other day. I can send you all the articles too that got all the information. But in 2005, he was deregistered for continuing to. He was found guilty of supplying cannabis to children with epilepsy and people that were sick and dying. So they took his licence off him. He will turn around now and say that he's happily deregistered because he doesn't believe in the system that is, and he thinks the system is outdated and needs reevaluating. And I don't even think doctors sign the Hippocratic Oath anymore, from my knowledge. I don't think they do, so which is to do no harm. So his advocacy for cannabis first started with him being distraught about looking at the forest. The forest is being destroyed, and he's gone, hang on, there has to be a better solution to paper. And that's when he found hemp, and he realised that hemp grows 4 times faster than pine, plantation pine, and it's easier and more sustainable as a product, and it won't destroy our forests like the current, paper industry does. So that was his first, and then he started to see it as food. Then he discovered the cannabis as medicine. So he's and he's just been an advocate since then. He's always, every day is spent doing something for cannabis and hemp with the intention of wanting and the vision that all Australians will one day have affordable access to this plant and be able to grow it in their backyard. He says that it's as cheap to grow as parsley, and it is. So, yeah.
Wow. So you mentioned that Dr. Katelaris has changed some laws within Australia.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah. Well, the hemp seed ones, definitely, that's a definite. And I think with the other ones with cannabis, I think, if you look at Google and look over the timeline of his journey over the last 20 years, there's so many articles in there of him standing up, of him defying the law because he says he answers to a higher power. He follows his conscience. His conscience tells him that the right thing to do is give this plant to people. And so I know that I believe definitely it would not be acknowledged and recognised enough as much as it is in the world or in Australia if it wasn't for his determination, his advocacy. And I believe, it has been a push to change the law for sure. His presence and his standing up for the people and for the plant that has progressed this far quicker than people are saying. It's still 10 years away, and we're going, we just don't believe that. We need to be, and we need to get it sorted as soon as possible. And that's why he knew, the only way to do that is probably through the law, through the court system. So next year is going to be a big year when we've got a few court cases coming up where We've got thousands of clients, and they've got families and friends that have witnessed the improvement of the quality of life for their loved ones. So all up, we've got tens of thousands of testimonies that we can take with us that prove that Dr. Katelaris and this plant are right.
Mm. That's some pretty solid evidence.
Yeah, that's right, honey. It's good. It's beautiful. It is. And I think we've been working in integrity with the plant and the people. People say, how do you get away with what you're doing? I said, well, what we're doing is right. You know, we follow the laws written on the Bible, and in the Bible it says, Genesis 1 verses 29 is that I give you all seed-bearing plants that they are yours for food.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't think we're doing anything wrong. I think we're actually we're following our own conscience, and our conscience tells us that this is a plant, and it's our birthright to have this plant.
Yep.
So, yeah, fundamental human right to have this plant and to use it however. Yeah.
I am curious because you've said that cannabis has recently been legalised for consumption, yet Andrew Katelaris is still being imprisoned for supplying cannabis oil.
I know, weird, hey, it's crazy. So basically it's been that they're legalising it, but it's only their synthetic version.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so they're legalising medicinal cannabis. They're telling you that it's legal, but you have to go to a doctor. I think there's only about 25 prescribed doctors in Australia that can do it. I have yet to find anyone that's found those. I found a couple of people that have found those doctors. There's a fabulous Facebook page called Medicinal Cannabis Users Association. I encourage everyone to check that out. They've got all the information about the laws and everything, and also upcoming cannabis events, education workshops and things like that. But, yeah, so they're telling the Australian public that it's legal, but it's hard to get. There's still years to wait, and it will be a synthetic or an isolated compound. So what they do is they take a tiny little bit out of this plant. Remember, it's got 570 constituents, so that's all vitamins and minerals. They want to take a little bit out of it and give it to us in a pill form, which will be expensive, whereas, you know, it's not expensive. So that's the problem there. So they've locked Andrew up for doing what is supposedly legal, but it's not illegal in their eyes for him to do it because he uses a natural plant, organically grown. He doesn't use a synthetic version. That's what they want to give to our people. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. Thank you for clarifying that.
It's a bit crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how it's possible.
I know, it's so disturbing, and, you know, I feel that we need every single person behind this now. It's critical that because we need to stay onto this, and just otherwise you're going to get people, you will get synthetic cannabis, and it will be years away, and it will be expensive. You know, it shouldn't be expensive. It should, you know, it's not expensive.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now that Andrew's imprisoned, what's happening to the children that he was helping? Are they still receiving this medicine?
Well, it was just on Christmas, so normally the parents make sure that they've got plenty for the Christmas season, and I've contacted them all to let them know that we're still here at Ubuntu if they need assistance. But they're petrified, you know. I spoke to a mother yesterday, and she said, you know, she's got 2 children with epilepsy, and she said, I just don't know where. Before they found us, she said they were contemplating driving off a cliff, the whole family in the car. Oh, wow. They couldn't cope. Like, you know, the oldest boy was having 1,500 seizures a day, and they just could not cope. And they just said that was the only option they thought they had. And now that they've finally got some sort of quality of life, the fear is that some, you know, like Andrew or us will get shut down, and that they won't, it will just destroy their family like the thousands of others that rely on her.